In today's plate of history beans, I'll look briefly at a writer that, to some extent, helped create the Western genre of writing. James Fenimore Cooper wrote several novels, including a series of books about a New England woodsman named Natty Bumppo and his native sidekick, Chingachgook, collectively called the Leatherstocking Tales. James Fenimore Cooper is one of the first American authors to enjoy wide success in Europe and the fledgling United States. His books are set mostly in New York and the northeastern United States, except for his novel The Prairie, which is a personal favorite of mine. If you're looking for tales set in what we normally think of as the Old West, you might enjoy The Prairie. The other Leatherstocking tales take place mostly in the forested regions of upstate New York, in and around Lake Ontario, and take place mostly during the pre-Revolutionary War era, during the conflicts often called the French Indian Wars, between the years of about 1750 up until the early part of the 1800s. The book that launched Cooper's career, The Spy, was set in the Revolutionary War, and it wasn't the type of frontier story that would later come to define Cooper's career. Even so, it set the stage in terms of notoriety for the first of the Leatherstocking tales, The Pioneers. The Pioneers is told as a sort of retrospective by an aging Natty Bumppo, and is the story of a small town in New York and a common conflict found in many of Cooper's books regarding the question of whether white settlers should usurp native lands to, in essence, recreate Europe in the Americas. One thing I find interesting in Cooper's books is that the author sees the beauty of native cultures and, in a sense, mourns the loss of those traditions. Cooper's writing rises above the normal good guy, bad guy narrative in that he sees both sides of the issue, though it's clear Cooper sides in large part with the notion that our development as a nation was, even in those early years, a bit too invasive in terms of taking what we wanted, regardless of the consequences to others. The second of the Leatherstocking tales, published in 1826, is regarded as Cooper's masterpiece. In The Last of the Mohicans, Natty Bumppo gains his most famous nickname, Hawkeye, and we learn a good deal more about Chingachgook and his people, the Mohicans. Set in the Catskills in northern New York, the story presents a breathtaking adventure as Chingachgook and his son Uncas, with some assistance from Hawkeye, guide a pair of young British women through the wilderness, avoiding the perils of the French Indian War and a fearsome Huron scout named Amagua. If you love tales of the Old West, Last of the Mohicans is a must-read. The third of the Leatherstocking tales is the aforementioned The Prairie, which Cooper wrote and published in 1827. The book didn't enjoy the critical success of its predecessor, Last of the Mohicans, but was widely read both in the U.S. and Europe. During this period, Cooper moved his family to Europe, where they lived for the next 8 years, mostly so Cooper could earn more as a writer and his children could enjoy a more formal education. Cooper was a huge fan of the British writer Sir Walter Scott, who wrote historical novels of British royalty and war. Scott's tales of politics and chivalric adventure were an inspiration for the Leatherstocking tales, and it's clear that even today we see the same code of honor in Western heroes you might find in the tales of European chivalry found in Walter Scott's books and the Arthurian tales of the Knights of the Round Table. It's important to note that Cooper wrote a number of novels other than the Leatherstocking tales, though I think it's safe to say none of those books have remained as popular as the stories featuring Natty Bumppo and Chingachgook. Following the publication of The Prairie in 1827, Cooper didn't write another Leatherstocking tale until the publication of The Deerslayer in 1840. In terms of chronology within the books themselves, Deerslayer takes his characters to the days before the last of the Mohicans. I won't try to explain the chronology of the Leatherstocking tales. Suffice to say that the 5 books follow a chronology of their own, and the order of publication of the books does not follow the chronology found within the stories themselves. In the Deerslayer, Chingachgook and Natty rescue Chingachgook's fiance from Cooper's favorite bad guys, the Huron Indians. Mark Twain, using his normal rapier wit, would later criticize Cooper's writing targeting the Deerslayer specifically. Twain said Cooper broke 114 out of a possible 115 rules governing literary art with the book. As much as I love Twain, I have to say Deerslayer is still pretty good. The final Leatherstocking tale, published in 1841, is titled The Pathfinder and is a sort of retread. Natty, now called the Pathfinder, guides more damsels through the wilderness. The book sold well, but as I say, it's not Cooper's most inspired work. There have been a number of movies and other literary works based upon Cooper's writing. If you've not seen Daniel Day-Lewis in The Last of the Mohicans, it's a pretty good film, and I think it captures the spirit of Cooper's work, even though it may not adhere closely to the text itself. That's it for today's plate of History Beans. As always, if you like my content, I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe buttons. Any support is appreciated. I'll have links to my author's page in the comments below, as well as a link to James Fenimore Cooper's page on Amazon, just in case you want to pick up one of his books. In Chapter 20.2 of Hunting Charm, main character Hunter Brantley, while stuck in a tent during a storm, reads Cooper's novel, The Pathfinder. Thus the title to today's reading from Chapter 20 of Hunting Charm, Cottonmouth and the Pathfinder's Dream. Hunting Charm, Chapter 20, Part 2, Cottonmouth and the Pathfinder's Dream. They attempted to replenish their supplies from the fort's commissary, but the quartermaster refused. "Ain't none of these forts on this trail gonna take care of you boys," he said. "Orders from Major Alexander. We don't serve low-down bounty hunting scum." As they rode out, Brant calculated they had, at best, a week's worth of supplies. He also knew Matt wouldn't be willing to slow down for hunting. "Hungry days ahead," he said. "What's that?" "Nothing." They continued west for another 3 days, hoping to catch Johnson, their food supplies dwindling to scraps. Thanks to the Transcontinental Railroad, completed a few years earlier, the string of wagons that once populated the Santa Fe Trail had dwindled considerably. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, Matt reined to a stop. "We're on the wrong track," he said. "I don't believe Cecil Johnson came this way. I haven't seen any mule tracks since we left Fort Union." "I don't recall anyone at the fort saying anything about Johnson traveling this way." "You may recall how that clerk at the store mentioned how we wouldn't get any help at the other forts along the trail." Matt looked at his partner, reminding him of the lieutenant's warning. "We've been traveling 3 days on that." "Well, at least I was going on something." "You had an idea Johnson might not have come this way back at Fort Union, didn't you?" Brent felt his anger rise. "Why the hell didn't you say something 100 miles back?" "I wasn't sure." Brent dismounted, glaring at his partner. "Get off the horse and make camp." Brent struggled to contain his anger. "We're out of grub. Were you planning on not eating for the next week?" "Hunter, Shut up, Matt. I'm sick of this. You never listen to anyone but your own damn self, and I'm supposed to just follow along whenever the hell you decide to take us. Get your ass off that horse before I drag you and hog-tie you to a cactus. I'm going hunting, and you damn well better have the tents up and fire going when I get back, or I swear I'm going to give you a butt whipping you will not forget. God damn it, Matt. Hunter, there's snow. Call it. Shut up. Brant spent the rest of the afternoon following a small herd of buffalo. Finally, around nightfall, he brought down an old cow trailing the herd. He butchered the carcass by moonlight, removing the flanks and hump, loading his stout pony with nearly 70 pounds of meat. He hated to leave the remains, but figured the animal, having strayed from its herd, would have died soon anyway. Back at camp, Matt, as ordered, had pitched their tents and, in anticipation of a successful hunt, had gathered enough wood for a decent fire. When Brent arrived, Matt arranged chunks of buffalo to smoke through the night. They tethered the mules near the fire to keep the coyotes away. The following morning, they reversed trail for Fort Union. They didn't bother entering the fort when they arrived 3 days later. A group of cavalrymen spotted them and shouted a few choice words. Matt and Brent didn't bother responding. Trying to explain their true intentions was a waste of time. That afternoon, ominous storm clouds gathered in the north. They stopped and pitched a single tent beneath a rocky outcropping in the lee of a mesa. It began to rain. Soon, a late spring norther had blown in and the temperature dropped. Even though they had been traveling in 80-degree heat most days, the temperature dropped to near freezing and the rain became icy sleet. Because they had not gathered firewood, they huddled on their cots, wrapped in blankets, shivering in the gloom. Brant, who carried a couple of books on the trail, tried to distract himself with The Deer Slayer, to no avail. To make matters worse, other than the already spoiling buffalo meat, they had nothing to eat. Good buck, but we ain't got fuel for the lamp. Brent reluctantly closed the novel and burrowed into his knapsack. They had less than a pint of kerosene left. On the trail, one never knew when a lamp or other piece of equipment might become essential. Brent, gazing forlornly through the tent flaps, didn't notice that a craving for whiskey never came. The morning dawned with horizontal rain and howling winds that threatened to take their tent. Brent ventured outside and rigged the second tent as a windbreak for the animals. He also managed to gather a bit of firewood for the tent stove. It was approaching noon when he crawled back inside, soaking wet and shivering. Matt, who had spent his morning writing letters on a small lap desk, didn't seem to notice. Instead, with Brent now there as audience, he started babbling about the case. Eventually night fell and they turned in for a second day. The third morning dawned with teeth-chattering cold, hunger, and mind-numbing boredom. Fortunately, the skies cleared shortly after noon. Matt suggested breaking camp, but Brent said 2 hours on the trail wouldn't amount to much. Instead, he gathered every buffalo chip and mesquite branch he could find and built a big smoky fire outside to dry everything out. As the late sun colored the sparsely clouded skies orange, conversation turned to their next destination. Johnson could be halfway to California by now, Matt said. We could ride west, but we only have 1 can of beans and that rancid buffalo meat. We might be able to get a few things in San Luis, but just as likely the Army folks will have word up that way too. We could take the North Trail up to Colorado City. I got no idea what's up that way, though. Pretty sparse territory when we were through there, 5 years ago? We could go on up to Denver and get the railroad, but once we got to California, what then? Kiowa through there, so they aren't always pleasant. Maybe we better off going back. We can be in Lower Spring in 4 days. They'll sell us grub there. I know old man Turner. He won't turn us down. Matt paused, then released a long gust of air. I guess after that we can just head on back for Abilene. I'll tell Mr. Tarwater what we know. The advancement is non-refundable by our contract. I hate to quit, but I think Johnson is probably long gone. That's too much country to cover unless Mr. Tarwater wants to give us more for supplies." In the darkness, his back aching from the confines of the tent, Brent thought about Natty Bumppo and imagined himself leading a group of people through the wilderness, trekking through lands filled with threatening savages, seeing places never seen by white men. He examined the woven charm given him by Nakona, and at some point found himself in a place between wakefulness and dreams. Visions of the past lurched through his mind. His father stumbling to the barn, his little brother running towards him proudly displaying a rabbit he had just shot. In his old kitchen, his mother, wiry and hard as a walking stick, moved busily, preparing a meal. "Get out there to the field, boy. Tell your daddy to come on in for supper." Brent could hear her words as clearly as the day they were spoken. "Yes, Mama." He ran out the front door, around the barn, and down the long slope to the creek. Passing the trees lining the banks, he leapt up the embankment, slipping a little, grinding mud into the knees of his old jeans, something his mother would scold him about later. Breathing hard, he pushed himself up the slope, headed for the tilled fields where his father was plowing. Topping the rise, he saw the mule, reins hanging from the back of the plow, the animal still hitched, head hanging low. He didn't yet notice his father's lifeless form, half hidden by a freshly turned furrow. Then in his dream, Brant's location shifted. Replacing the plowed field, he saw the red escarpments of Quanah's Canyon. A mountain lion approached. "Look, there," the beast said. In the distance, Brant saw a campsite, 4 figures huddled around a flickering fire, a boy hammering at the mud with a stick, a girl clutching desperately at a doll, an older fellow with white hair and kind eyes singing, and a 4th man, a man he somehow knew, was Cecil Johnson, staring blankly at the setting sun. The surroundings blurred, time shifted, and Brant found himself atop a windy promontory. Below, a forest of pine, hardwoods, and evergreens stretched in all directions. The kindly gray-haired man sat with the 2 children aboard a wagon. Johnson handed him a sack of coins, then rode away. In the drizzling mist of Brant's dream, time and distance flew by. He found himself in hill country, ravines thick with oak brush, sprawling stands of deciduous trees, and marshy lowlands filled with switchgrass and cattails. Cecil Johnson, nearly invisible, hid beneath an incongruous stand of juniper trees, fearful, waiting for something or someone to pass. Morning arrived, the cloudless skies purple, then orange, then pure blue. Mats shifted in response to Brant, who was already up packing their gear. "I have an idea where we can find Cecil Johnson," Brant said. "What?" Matt pulled his blanket over his head, hoping for another moment of rest. Brant clutched the braided charm in his hand, knowing Matt would scoff at his dream, but spoke anyway. "You're gonna think I'm crazy, but I ain't. Leastwise, I don't think I'm crazy, though maybe I am. You got to promise you ain't gonna laugh." "Oh, hell, can a man sleep 5 more minutes?" "You laugh and I'm gonna kick your ass, and I ain't drunk right now, so you can bet I can do it." "Hunter, just tell me." "I saw it in a dream." "What? Saw what?" "I saw what happened to that Johnson feller." "A dream? What the hell?" "Like I say, I have an idea where we can find Cecil Johnson." "Pray tell." "You promised you weren't gonna laugh." "I ain't laughing." "You can't even smile." "You didn't say anything about smiling. What happened in your dream?" Well, it wasn't a dream exactly. What was it? More like a, well, a vision. A vision? Nakona showed it to me. See, I got this other spirit that looks like a mountain lion. This sounds like pure bullshit, huh? Never mind. Brant stretched, uncertain now. Matt, however, seemed interested. So a mountain lion comes to you in a vision or dream of some sort. What did he say? Well, it said. Brant stopped short for a moment as the morning sun appeared suddenly hard and bright through the tent flaps. Brantley, you were saying? Hunter didn't speak for a moment, sorting things in his mind. Had Nakona come to him? Had he been running alongside the old Indian chief, or had they been one and the same, one animal running across space and time? I ain't sure the mountain lion came to me or was me. It was... Shit, I don't know. Well, what was that? You were the lion? Come on, Hunter, let's get this stuff packed up and get back on the trail. Brent followed his partner, crawling from the tent, rolling his head to loosen the crick in his neck. Which trail were you thinking of following? Brent asked. Well, back to Kansas, unless you have something else in mind. Which trail do you suggest? Which way did that mountain lion point? Brent realized his story sounded ridiculous. Even so, another instinct told them that they should ride east, back along the trail into Oklahoma. Despite the receding memory of his dream, one detail remained clear. He had seen a hill, and near a stand of brush, Cecil Johnson hid beneath a stand of junipers, waiting there, though Brant couldn't be sure why or for what reason. Was Johnson hiding or waiting for someone to pass? So, back to Abilene then? Matt asked. No, sir, Brant said. We ain't done yet. Hunter, you know I'm doing the best I can. I know I've not always been... Matt looked defeated. I promise I won't laugh at whatever you have to say. Brant paused once more, then nodded and spoke. In my dream, or whatever it was, Johnson sold most of his herd somewhere west of here. The location wasn't clear and that part is vague, but after he sold his mules, except for breeding stock, he left his children with an old man, gave them a good-sized sack of gold, and rode east alone. Johnson has a score to settle, one he can't leave be. He traveled east, Matt, back toward his home. Doesn't make a bit of sense, but I saw a place. The place where we'll find Johnson. A green valley and a stand of juniper. But it felt like home, if it was Johnson's home. Doesn't make a bit of sense, but I think he's headed for Indian territory. I know it sounds crazy, but we haven't been there, right? It does seem like we should at least look at the scene of the crime. Matt stared at Brent for a long moment, amazed by the eloquent flow of words springing from his usually silent partner. Maybe it was Brent's sense of conviction or his own lack of direction. Whatever the case, Matt felt Brent might be right. You seem fairly sure about this one, Hunter. I'd say that's overstating things. I ain't sure at all. It's purely a gut feeling. Matt glanced at the horizon, the glowing eastern skyline, the ghostly fog that rose like a veil. From the bluff where they camped, a line of light crawled across the eastern prairie. Matt suddenly felt a twinge of annoyance with himself. Something had occurred to him, something he had missed, something Cottonmouth had said back at the fort. The bearded blacksmith had said they had no right to find any of them, not a single one. Why had Cottonmouth used those words? Not a single one, unless Sometimes you have to trust your gut, Hunter. Matt said. They did split up, or plan to, and Cottonmouth knew it. What's that? When we talked to Cottonmouth, he said we had no right to find them, none of them. He told us about how they came through the fort, which we suspected already. He also mentioned that some of Johnson's family members were missing, something we also suspected. Then he said something else, and it didn't register with me at the time, but now, maybe. Cottonmouth said we had no godly right to find the Johnson family, none of them. Why would he say none of them if they weren't planning to split up? Or maybe they already had split up. That would put Johnson a week or maybe 10 days ahead of us. They split up. The family split up because Johnson wanted something, revenge for his wife's death, or something he left undone. Brent, I don't know how, but you're right. We need to go back, head into the territories, and figure out exactly what happened at that ranch. As they finished packing, Brent felt gratified by Matt's decision. He enjoyed feeling like he had something more than a fast gun to contribute. Matt, on the other hand, had decided there might be some usefulness to Brent's newly found instincts and asked several questions about the dream, making notes as Brent recalled the details. Matt also cursed his own stupidity. Cottonmouth had totally fooled them. He made his living reading others, recognizing a lie, examining motives, knowing how and why someone might say one thing instead of another. Had Cottonmouth said something else? Had he betrayed some other vital bit of information with a glance, a subtle laugh, or even a gesture? Why had the man been so hospitable, serving them cookies, welcoming them into his house, treating them with such deference? Matt had plenty to think about. Then he recalled something else, something one of the Baylor brothers had said. Matt suddenly knew not only where Cecil Johnson might be going, but also who he might be looking for.